Hey, I'm Stephen Glosser.
And I'm Megan Pikert.
Welcome to the Going Somewhere podcast.
A podcast for anyone who finds themselves in the ambiguous adventure of young adulthood.
A season that's marked by uncertainty, change, love, heartbreak, and a whole lot of big decisions.
Join us for some real conversations as we dig into what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus in this beautiful yet complicated season of life.
We're so glad you're here, and we'd love to have you join our little Going Somewhere podcast community. Follow us on Instagram at goingsomewhere.podcast and join the conversation.
We're all going somewhere. We might as well go there together.
Thanks for listening. Let's jump into today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Going Somewhere podcast. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
So good. So good. So good to sit across from you, Megan. We're back in Nathan's office. Shout out Nathan Seafeld.
Shout out Nathan. It's a nice office. We like being here.
It is. This is probably the new home. Mm-hmm. This is the new home of the Going Somewhere podcast for a while. So we're pumped to be here. But hey, what's going on in your life, Megan?
What's going on? Not much. Well, actually, so much, I feel like, actually. But work life, we're super busy right now. Church ministry, all of our events. This weekend, I went home. My nephew he had his second birthday party. He hasn't had his birthday yet. So we just celebrated. Right now, he is really into Trash Truck. Have you seen the show?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
It's, classic, like, super little kid
Yep.
TV show. But so he had a garbage-themed birthday party. Like, we had
Amazing.
newspaper crumpled up everywhere, So you got to play into what the kid's interested in, and this is what he wanted. So, like, all the decorations was, like, a dumpster. And so it was kind of funny, kind of silly, but he loved it.
That's so fun, though.
Yeah, he was having the best time. So, yeah, it was good. What did you do this weekend?
We kind of wrapped up summer because our kids are back in school now. So we did a pool day. We hung out with some family, did some stuff with friends. So it was a good weekend. Super fun weekend. But yeah, with school starting and stuff, we did like the little board where it's like Kinsley's first day of school, and Rowan, one of the questions on there is, what do you want to be when you grow up or whatever? And Rowan wants to be a truck driver, like big truck driver. He wants a trailer behind it. He made sure to specify that. He has like this toy. And of course, it's Lightning McQueen, but it's like the trailer, and he loves playing with that. And so he pointed to that, and he said, "I want to drive a truck." So that's what he wants to be. And so Summit goes back to school tomorrow as we're recording this. So we haven't asked the question yet. We're anxious. Last year he was a motorcycle driver / cook, which he was shocked by that answer because he's like, "I don't even like to cook,"
He's shocked by his own answer.
Yeah, when we told him what he picked last year, he was very confused by why he would have picked that. And so, no, it's fun. Just kind of getting back into the school mode has been kind of fun. Kinsley was super pumped coming home from first grade yesterday. She had a great day, and Rowan loved preschool. So it's kind of been fun at our house, all the back to school stuff. And that's kind of why we're kind of doing this little 2-part series on kind of life lessons we learned in college that still matter today. And so it's kind of been fun to kind of get back into that mode in our house. Summer was great, but, school is good, and rhythms and routines are good too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm excited to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Last week we covered the first 5 lessons. We realized there's a lot of them, and we could talk forever. So broke it up into 2 sections. So today, we're talking about the next 5. But to recap a little bit from last week's episode, we covered following Jesus instead of chasing your dreams, building his kingdom instead of a resume, reframing FOMO, and respecting your limits and surrendering your plans to God's purpose.
Yeah.
So it was a good episode. Encourage you to go back, listen to that one before jumping in today.
Yeah, and again, we would love to hear some of the lessons that you learned in your college experience or that you're learning now. I think we can share those together and we can all grow together. So make sure you share those with us over on Instagram, goingsomewhere.podcast. But before we jump in to number 6, I was thinking about my own college experience again, which is kind of scary. But I stumbled across a picture. It's great because you get all the reminders on Facebook and on like Google Photos right now. And so one of those popped up And it was, 13 years ago today, or no, 16 years. Oh my goodness.
How old are you?
I'm 34. So 16 years ago is when I went to college. And so, this picture popped up, and it was the worst haircut you've ever seen in your life. And that was like the one that I was like, I'm going to college.
Right.
I need to make a good first impression.
This was a choice that you made with eyes wide open.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, all right, I'm going to meet so many new people. I need to go in with bang. Let's do this bowl cut. Maybe I'll post the picture. I did post as like the cover for the first part of this. I did post another picture from my freshman year. So you can probably get the gist. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty bad. But I just remember wandering the streets that first week of college, like just literally wandering and then converging with other groups of people. And I remember being at McDonald's at like 10 p.m. I think that's where the picture that I stumbled across was taken. And it was with this group of people that we all actually kind of stayed together in some ways. And so I was just two of them. They're kind of in like the startup world here in Fargo. And so I see them quite a bit. And I was just like, I had the flashback. I saw them doing like adult things and professional things. And then I went back to just wandering the streets like stray cats when we were in college. And so the college memories, it's just kind of fun as everybody's been moving in and everything's happening here. We're in a pretty big college town. And so seeing all that has just kind of brought back some good memories. And so it's been really fun to kind of dig into some of these things. So let's jump in to numbers 6 through 10. We're going to bring it home today. What's number 6, Megan?
Number 6, pursue godly community, not just convenient friends.
Nice.
Crazy. What a concept, which is so hard, actually, I feel like. What you were just speaking to of, like, you were roaming around McDonald's with strangers, in the middle of the night because you're new, you don't know anyone, and so you're just trying to make friends. And so it's really easy to hop on the bandwagon of just convenience, who's around you, who's living next to you, what's your roommate's name, those kind of things. But there really is another aspect of community, which is godly community, which is both part of our story of we found really incredible godly community in college that wasn't just convenient.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, like, again, it's kind of cliche, but who you spend your time with is who you become. The more time you spend with somebody, the more you emulate their qualities and you act like them. And so I think that influence of the community around us is so important. And so for both you and I can only speak for myself, that's why I see my college experience as such a blessing, because that first week I did wander like a stray cat a little bit. But for the most part, I had people reaching out to me. My brother was a part of the Chi Alpha community before I was. So he had already set me up to be a small group host. So Pastor Dave Leadall was my small group leader. And it was just like, I mean, literally, I moved in on Saturday and Dave took me to Oreo Shake Saturday night. Like, he had already reached out, pulled me in under his wing, introduced me to other people. I went to a group of college or Chi Alpha students apartment for like a game night the second night of college. And so it was just like so immediate. And that was really what shaped my next 4 years, was these really deep relationships with people that love Jesus. And so I think we mentioned it in last week's episode, but because of that positive community, and it was fun and it was engaging and there's always something to do and it was encouraging. I don't even remember being in an environment where there was, temptations in regards to substances and drinking and that stuff. Like, I just never had to even enter into those environments to see how I would react, because I was very impressionable. Like, I was very consumed with what people thought of me. As a high school student and going into college, I really cared what other people thought of me. And I think if I would have found myself in those environments, I think I would have caved, because I would have wanted to be viewed as a certain way. And so to have the environment that shaped me be one that wanted the best for me and just truly loved me was really a game changer for me. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you?
Yeah, well, as you were talking, I was thinking, when I started college, so I have a twin brother. We've talked about him. Shout out Matt.
Yep.
But I just had a natural built-in friend my whole life. And so when I came to college, we went to different schools. And I remember talking to my friend Brooke freshman year, and I said, I need to make friends because Matt's not here. I don't know who to hang out with. Like, I don't have the buddy anymore. And so I joined a sorority right off the bat because I was like, I will pay for friends. You guys all have to hang out with me. And I was convinced. I was like, this is a great group of girls that, like, now I'll just be friends with you. And they were the best. And it really is a huge part of my story. But I leaned into the convenient side of like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this club. And conveniently, you all have to hang out with me. There's like 4 events a week, you know? So I felt like just immediately involved in that environment. But then at the exact same time, I was getting plugged into Chi Alpha, which was like the godly community side of it. And I think there was so many positives to both. But for me, the godly community, what sold me a lot of the times was just the intentionality of it, of like, these people pursued the heck out of me, you know? And similarly, like you said, Pastor Dave, like, he was ready to take you out for ice cream the first night. And that was kind of part of my story too, was like, oh, once you're in, you're a friend for life, you know? Like, we got your number, you're invited, you're included. And I think that's a lot of times just the heart that we all want. You know, we all want to be invited, we all want to be included. And to see that played out so nicely in my story, I appreciate the people that were willing to, you know, initiate that, because as a freshman, I just didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know who to hang out with, and I was just going for convenience over like quality of friends too.
Yeah, for sure. I think when I think back to my high school friendships, and like, even though I'm close with a few of them and all of that, like, we had very convenient level of friendship. Like, we didn't share hearts at a deep level. We just talked about what was going on in the moment. And that was fun. There was fun too that I have great memories with my friends, but it was in college where I had people that actually like took interest in my future and really wanted to see me live the life that God had for me, and called me higher and challenged me and set an example for me. And so that's what I mean by that, pursuing godly community, not convenient friends. And I think some people are in an environment where they're like, okay, I know how to do that. And I think there's others that are in a place where that feels foreign, where that's like needle in a haystack, because maybe a lot of times college can be a current. It's like a river that just takes you somewhere. And so I think you just have to work really hard, even if you have to walk against the current for a bit, to find those people, to find that community, and do a search on your campus. Go to different professors. They've been around students. Like, hey, do you know of any organizations, or, you know, because there are students on your campus, even if they're the silent minority, you know, but they're there, and they definitely want to do life with you. So I think that's a big thing. So that's number 6. What's number 7, Megan?
Number 7, seek out mentors. Don't wait for them. Ooh, this one I feel like you taught me the most like recently in the last year or two. But there's mentors in everyone. There's mentors in your friends, in your professors, the natural authority figures that you have in this season of your life. But mentors are people that you kind of have to chase a little bit, that if you want to be around people, you got to invite yourself into some rooms and invite yourself into some conversations. One of the best things that I've done in my life, I think, is inviting people to coffee. You know, people that you want to learn from. Is like, hey, can I take you out for coffee, please? And then you just ask them questions, finding people that are further along in a season that you want to be, or good at things that you want to be good at, and just getting yourself in the room to ask those questions. And I think sometimes we want other people to invest in us without taking the first step, but it's really a lesson in advocating for yourself and putting yourself out there, and inviting someone in to have that say in your life and that mentorship role. Yeah,
I think, again, this is one of those things that maybe for some comes naturally. Maybe they're very career oriented and they're like, I I have mentors, but I think just thinking through just the other areas of our life too. So maybe it's easy for us to say, well, I want to be a nurse, so I need to find some nurses that I can talk to. But also, as a follower of Jesus, it's like, okay, no, I need some people that have walked this path and that can come alongside me. And so those people might be built in, or again, you might have to search them out. But I know for me, like Brad Lewis was one of those. He was in his, I don't know if he was 50s, 60s, probably 50s back then. But it wasn't a natural friendship. It wasn't like oh yeah, we had math together and we just walked to the dorms together. No, like I would drive to the church and sit with him in his office, and it was in that environment that he really was able to. There's peers in my life that were pouring into me, loving on me, but Brad really like helped paint a picture of what God had for me and helped invite me into that and taught me the Bible. Like he actually showed me things. He would open his Bible and show me things. And so I think that like more true mentorship was really impactful, that I really am grateful that I had that. And it taught me how to pursue it too, because I think when you're in post-college, like it's not automatic that you have that. Like you have to really ask people and say, hey, I want you to speak into my life. I want you to teach me things. I want you to, on a consistent basis and tell them what you need, because a lot of people are actually honored by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say it's kind of countercultural to invite someone into that too, and to say that, like, I want you to speak into my life. I think we kind of have a culture that is, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, figure it out, and just kind of, be independent. But really mentorship, it comes in all different forms. And so it's inviting people in to have that say that's deeper than, the convenient friends like we were talking about. And so I think it's a little bit uncomfortable because you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to have this figured out. And we can get caught in like the comparison cycle too of like everyone else feels like they have it figured out. It's like the secret is we don't, no one really knows. And I think when we get over that hurdle, we open ourselves up to so much more teaching and curiosity from other people too.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have an experience with like a mentor in college?
Well, I was thinking about my friend Carly, who really mentored me really well. And I think she did it in such a way that I never felt like we weren't friends too. And I really appreciated that, even though I really saw her as like she had full access to my life. She had, no holding back with questions that she would ask me. And but in the same way, she was able to do it and maintain such a friendship that I never felt like I couldn't live up to this standard. She really challenged me in a way that was like I wanted to be the person that she saw in me. And now 6 years later, I was just in her wedding this summer, and that friendship has carried so much further past a mentorship role. And but I think for that, it was, I really had, as the person getting mentored, I had to come prepared to be mentored. Like I came with questions for her, and I also was willing to take feedback. If she gave a recommendation, or if she, told me to read this book or told me to have this conversation with this person, it was like, okay, that's part of the role that I've given her in my life, is that she does get to offer advice. I don't have to take everything, but she will be asking for a report back, And so I think she's just really modeled how to maintain a friendship through mentorship too. And that, I think that sometimes we see our friends as like even playing fields, but really there's so much to learn from your peers too.
Yeah, for sure. I think that point of just being prepared and prioritizing it, making it something that you pursue, is a big deal. That's so good. Number 8 is don't wait to start living. And so this is one that I think of this one because it was in college that really the idea for even the book that I'm just finishing came to life. It was because I was sitting in a classroom thinking about the next weekend and thinking about the next time away from college. And I just kept like daydreaming about the adventures that I could do once this stinking semester is all done. And I was really convicted because I was like, why am I wishing away a part of my life? Like, why am I trying to live somewhere that I'm not? And I think as much as it's okay to plan for the future, it's not okay to live there. Like, it's okay to say, like, hey, I want to do these things. I have these things in mind. We talked about that last week, but so many times we actually live there that we fail to be present where we're at. And so when I was thinking about the lessons that I learned, this one kind of, it came up again because I was like, oh yeah, if we just wait and think that real life starts when we graduate or when we get married or when we have kids, or it goes on and on. Like, I remember being in college just kind of going like, oh man, I can't wait to graduate and I can't wait to get married, like all those things. And then there's a weekend when when Kinsley and Summer were pretty young, and it was like a Saturday, and I literally thought to myself, I was like, I can't wait till Monday just to get back into normal. And I was like, man, it's a cycle. Like, it'll always, the temptation to want to be somewhere else will always happen. I know people that are in their 40s, 50s that are like, can't wait till retirement. I know people that are in retirement that have that next thing that they're looking forward to. And so I just think that it's an invitation that we only get one life. YOLO was a pretty big acronym. You only live once when I was in college. And it was always in relation to, should I jump off this cliff? YOLO,
Mm-hmm.
But I think the true theological reasoning or thing with that is, yeah, we only do have this one life on earth, and that we can make the most of every opportunity and make it, we don't, I like golf, that, but we don't get mulligans in life. Like, you don't just get a do-over if you 2 years pass, you're like, I want those 2 years back. Like, no, you have to just keep moving. And so I think it's just always a reminder to me to like embrace today and embrace the season that I'm in, not the one that I want to be in.
Mm-hmm. So good. So good. I feel like it's a continuous lesson to be learned, like you spoke to, and something that, as a young adult, I'm like still in the face of, because there's so much that I have to look forward to in my life that it's like, oh, I just can't wait till that happens. And that's so many of the conversations I feel like I'm having in this season is centered around what's to come, and people being excited about the next season or the next job or the next relationship. And it's not bad to be excited. We have desires, we have dreams, we have things that we want to look forward to, but like you said, we can't live there. And there's something specific for you in the season that you're in today that God is only going to be able to give you in the season that you're in today. And if we, miss out, we'll miss out on potentially something, really beautiful. Or I just keep thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and what is the line that they say in the movie? Like, if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you'll miss it, or something.
Yeah.
Whatever the famous line is. I just butchered it. But I think it's so true, like if we don't stop and just pause and appreciate, and I think that's where a heart of gratitude comes in too, of you only do get to live once, changing that perspective too, of like, it's not just what's to come, but you only get today once. Today I had a pastor many years ago who he numbers his days. He figured out how many days he's been alive, and every day he counts up. And the whole point of it was like, holy moly, like you only get, I don't know, 20,000 days in your life, and he's at 13,000, something like that. And he's like, my days are numbered here on earth. And so it was something that I had done and for a season, and it really did change the way that I viewed today.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is in Psalm 118:24, it says, this is the day the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. And just that, like, this is the day that he's made. Like, this is the only one that I have. You can read in James where it talks about life is a mist and it's here today, gone tomorrow. Like, all of those things have just kind of been that reminder of like, today is all that I have. So if you're a college student today, it's, you want to have that career. You want to make money. You want to, do all of those things. And I obviously want all those things for you, but what do you have today? Like, what can you do today there's going to be opportunities to impact the person that you're sitting next to. There's going to be opportunities to befriend somebody. There's going to be opportunities to really do your schooling as if it's doing it for the Lord. Like there's so many opportunities that are in front of us that if our eyes are 300 yards down the field, we won't see what's right in front of us. And so I think this is that invitation to remember, hey, there's something for us today, like right now, that God has for us. And I think that's what kind of leads us into number 9. It's very similar. What's number 9?
Number 9, don't obsess over finding the one.
Oof.
Everyone shut off the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, everybody.
But it's so true. It's so true. What was your experience like through that, learning this lesson?
I think I was convinced that was the main emphasis of college. Like I think it was because I had friends that were older, friends that were dating, friends that were getting engaged and married, all those things. And so it was always tempting for me to feel behind. And so I wouldn't say it was like the front of my mind thing that I need to focus on. It wasn't like a distraction from everything else. But at the same time, I think that and I'd heard enough messages and things that would say like, this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect time. It's the easiest time, you're around all these people that are your same age, And so then I think as college kind of kept going and I had different relationships, and honestly, this is maybe another episode, but made my fair share of mistakes early in college, and God really worked in this area of my heart from the purity standard. And so from freshman year, it was just like a real strong conviction that I want to do it the right way. So I had dated a few people in college that it just didn't work out, but it was actually like, it ended up being a really good thing. There's still people that I talk to this day, or a couple of them. Like they're people that I'm not like, oh, I never want to see that person again. We did it the right way. And so it was not a bad thing for it to end. But I think it was partially in me, there was something that was like, time is wasting, and so I think I put more emphasis and focus on that than I needed to. And it's funny because I was done with school when, and Taylor it was like more surprising. It was more like we were friends, and then it just kind of started to become more than friends, and it was very easy to see like how God's hand was on it, and it was very easy to enter into it, where other things, like I tried to force things, I tried to make it my effort. So I think that was kind of my experience, and why this one, I just felt a lot of pressure internally. Like I don't think there was people telling me like, what are you doing? You're wasting, it was just me internally feeling like this pressure to make something happen, to pursue something. And it was when I finally started to go, okay, it's okay, that something actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. As you were talking, I was like, I think I actually had the opposite problem. I felt no pressure. I was like, it wasn't even on my radar. But I do remember when I was graduating. So graduated college really fast. And I remember talking to one of my family members, and I was so excited that I was graduating so fast and I was moving on to the next season of my life, a little bit of an overachiever, and was like proud to say that I was leaving and graduating. And I had a family member, literally the first thing out of their mouth was, how are you going to find a husband? And it was the first time that it ever clicked for me that like, shoot, was that my goal? Did I totally miss my opportunity? Am I never going to find a husband? And it just like, I started to get really confused because that wasn't how I had approached college up to that point. And that was going into like my last semester. And I mean, thankfully it didn't change my perspective, but it is something that plays in the back of my head because now I'm 3 years post-grad. I'm like, shoot, did I really, I think I was supposed to go back there and find a spouse. And, but I'm so grateful that I didn't, I'm so grateful for where I am now, but I think it is consuming, whether it's internal pressure, you feel like you should, college, other people are starting relationships or getting married, entering that season of life. So whether you put that on yourself or sometimes other people are putting pressure on you. And, but it isn't the goal, and it's not, where your identity is found or where your worth is found either. Is at what point of your life did you find the spouse, and it'll be great no matter how it happens, or even if it doesn't. I think that there's so many other experiences that you can have outside of finding the one person in college.
Yeah. When I think what you said about your family member is interesting, because I think we've all probably been there. If you've been single and 21 or 22, it's just kind of crazy. Like, maybe it's changed a little bit. But especially I will say in like the Christian subset culture, like that is definitely something that I would hear a lot, like, when are you going to get married? Like it was a constant buzz from even those people that would go home, and it was at church, and the old church ladies coming up and being like, "You're not married yet?" Like, what's wrong with you? Like that's how it felt anyways. And so I think that kind of added to that in my own experience. But I think that's why, instead of obsessing over finding the one, like, I think it's so much better to prioritize becoming the one. And what I mean by that is just simply like, it's not the end goal of, well, I want to be the perfect spouse, but it's more of, no, I want to just add qualities to my life and pursue Jesus in a way that allows him to work in me, that whether it's preparing me for singleness or preparing me for a spouse, like, I'm in the center of God's will. I'm where God needs me to be. And I think that's where there's a lot less pressure in it, of just like, no, I'm just going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to just build my relationship with him and grow my relationship with him. And that's enough,
Yeah. Yeah. It made me think, I have someone in my life who they were going through a roommate conflict, and they were like, this is the best practice I will ever get to having a spouse one day, is living with other people in this season. And so they were like, there's no way I'm not talking about this. Like, it was such a minor inconvenience, whatever it was, can't even remember. But they were like, no, I'm going to learn how to communicate. I'm going to learn how to conflict resolution. I'm going to learn how to, wake up the next day and not hold it against them, whatever happened the night before. And they have really actually changed the way that I view roommates too now in my season, where I'm like, oh, it's just because I need cheaper rent. It's like, no, this can be an opportunity to really grow in, who are you as a roommate? Who are you as someone that is around other people so often? And so anyway, I think that's also an encouragement. Like you said, it's, how do you become the one? How do you become satisfied with the person that you are, and being whole completely on your own too? And because I think sometimes we have this idea in our head that, like, oh, once we get married to this person, then I'll figure all that out. And it's like, you take more baggage than you think you do into relationships, and more things are highlighted than you thought you had, or we don't see our blind, dumb, and deaf spots, right? And so, but your roommates might. And so this is an opportunity to, kind of use this season as preparation too, and just becoming someone that's prepared to step into that season a little bit more than you would have been.
For sure. And honestly, like, that's why number 10 is kind of what it is, because, a lot of these kind of came naturally. A lot of these were things that I've actually journaled about, written about, shared about in different settings. But then this one was kind of like, how can we put it together? And it's number 10 is stop comparing and run your race. And I would say, at least recently, one of the things that I've talked to the most with young adults is, you're not behind, you're right on time. Like, so many young adults that I've had conversations with, for whatever reason, they feel behind. So they feel behind financially, they feel behind relationally, they feel behind in their career. They just feel behind. They feel like everybody is running so much faster than them, and they're just like, I feel stuck. I feel, this friend told me about their 401k and I had to Google it, and this friend is having a baby and I don't even have a boyfriend. Like, this friend is getting a promotion and I'm still working a job that I had in high school. So I feel like all of those things just kind of make this tension of like, I'm behind. What do you think about that?
100%. I think I don't know where that comes from, if that's something that we're putting on ourselves, but I also think, like, there is this something shifts. When you hit 18, you get a lot of responsibility. But then I also think post college, you're suddenly expected to have it figured out. You know, you're having conversations with the HR about investing, and you're like, I don't know what that means, you know? And I didn't.
That seems like something that happened.
Yeah. Oh, it did happen.
Shout out Garrett.
Shout out Garrett. And I mean, there's like, you're suddenly forced into conversations that you have no knowledge of how to, you know, what the right answer is, you know, and you kind of feel like there's a right answer. You feel like there's a formula everyone else is following that you just didn't get the memo for, you know? And I think one, it's not as serious as we think it is either. And investing your finances, that's not what I'm talking about. But like having it all figured out in right away isn't the expectation. And but I think we've felt that because we're forced into figuring it out. And you know, post college, people are getting married, and so it's like, shoot, I hope I picked the right partner. You know, you're hoping that you got it figured out, but then you get married, you buy a house, you start having kids, and you're just trying to get your feet under you constantly. And so I think it is a very real thing that we're all experiencing, myself included. But yeah, but no one else, like to your point, no one else is designed for your race, and there's no one else that can do for the kingdom what you can do, and not in a prideful way, but like God has specifically put you in your position at this time for a reason, and no one else is going to be able to do the call that God has put on your life either. And when we take ownership of that, and when we see that as like such an invitation and not a burden or a fear, it's like it's such an invitation to step into so much more that God has for you that you can't even anticipate for yourself, right? And so I think there's just something so cool about reframing and viewing yourself as like, oh, I am called and positioned, and this is my race, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do it to the best that I possibly can.
Yeah, that's so good. I think of you know, in the Bible, it's kind of funny, but you have John and Peter. You know, you have John and Peter post resurrection, and Jesus makes some statement about John that, you know, if he's going to live forever, and Peter is like, wait a second, what about me? And Jesus is like, don't worry about John, worry about yourself. And I think there's this human nature part of us that we look over our shoulder and we see what other people are doing. And so, like you said, it's so important to recognize, okay, what is it that God's called me to? And how can I live according to my values? How can I live according to the call that's on my life? And again, there's been plenty of opportunities through my life where, you know, especially after college, you know, I spent the next 6 years as a campus missionary, and it was a very fulfilling time of my life. Like it was a very fun time of life, and we have very good memories from that. But in the midst of that, there was also these worries about finances. It was meeting with a friend, you know, asking them to come onto my support team, which was basically like to get to the bare minimum point, and, you know, all those things. And like knowing that they had excess to give me $100 a month, and like as grateful as I was, and like even in that moment I was able to see the kingdom of like God, you know, using it all and using us all. But at the same time, I looked at my life and I was like, I could never do that, you know? And it was hard for me to remember where God had me and where God had that individual, and how he was using both of us. And I think if we can really lean into, okay, how is it that God's wiring me and positioning me in this season, we won't get caught up in, am I ahead or behind? We'll be able to just look at him and be like, I'm with you, and that's all that matters, and I'm doing what you've asked me to do. And so if you are in that maybe job that you feel like isn't where you want to be in 5 years, that's okay. Make a plan, you know, figure out, talk to somebody that's in the place that you desire to be in and see what they did. But at the same time, don't miss that spot. Don't look at that person and start comparing yourself. And same with those other things. It's okay to say like, yeah, this isn't where I want to be forever, financially or relationally or whatever, But at the same time, this is where I am. And I don't have to compare. I don't have to feel that I'm behind. I'm right on time. I'm exactly where God has me and needs me to minister to me, to lead me in this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. So good. 10 lessons that we learned in college. Crazy.
10.
There's way more than that, but I feel like looking back at this list, I'm like, yeah, I really do see how each of these has impacted how I live today. And so why don't you recap us? What did we talk about today?
Yeah, so today we talked about pursuing godly community, not just convenient friends, seeking out mentors, don't wait for them, don't wait to start living, don't obsess over finding the one, and stop comparing and run your race. So add these to last week's 5, and I think if you just look through this list, and we'll have the whole list in the description below, but you're able to really just see, okay, how am I doing in these things? Like, which one of these was a tripwire? Which one of these is one that I can really put an emphasis on or a focus on in my life? Because it's not going to be all 10. You're going to look at this list and be like, oh yeah, there's some good going on. But I'm guessing that for most of us, there's one or two of these areas that we can put a little emphasis in, and whether that's in college or post-college. I think that was the fun thing about preparing for these episodes, was like, man, what good reminders, what good reminders to keep these things at the center. I know for instance, community is way harder to come by post-college, especially with young kids. But it just was another reminder of like how important it is and how much I need that and how much it does shape me, the people that I'm around. So regardless of where you're at, what season you're in, I think there's something that we can pull from this. And again, I would love to hear if there's lessons that you learned. It's just kind of fun to learn from everybody else. So if there's lessons you learned, make sure you share them with us.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We know that there might have been one or two that resonated, but there's also maybe something that you're learning right now that you just need to take some time to sit and reflect about what God's showing you right now that you need to work on or prioritize, or something that you've gotten really good at that it's just taken time to be grateful that we get to grow, and that we weren't who we were 16 years ago when you were in college,
Yeah, that's hard.
16 years, you lived a lot of life now, so that's exciting.
Yeah, that's very true.
But we love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.
You'll hear us in your ears very, very soon, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we'd love to connect with you. And if these episodes have been impactful, especially if you know any college students or people that you wish, if you were listening to this saying, I wish I knew about this when I was younger, think about somebody younger and send it to them. That's something that I've thought of often. Is there's been many times in my life of like, oh, I wish I would have known that. Finances is probably one of the biggest ones that again and again, I'm like, if I would have known that when I was 20, I would have done it differently. Share it with the 20-year-old, because then you can help impact them, and you're going to feel probably just as fulfilled or more than as if you would have done it yourself. So share with a friend. But as we always say, we're all going somewhere.
We might as well go there together.
Thanks for listening, everybody.